to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. And my guest this week, it's been so long. I haven't talked to you in so long, but my guest this week is friend of the podcast and one of the original guests way back when, Miss Paige, BJJ Mama. Welcome back, Paige. How are you?
Does that mean that I can officially call myself an OG? Like I'm the OG? Can I?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I think everyone in the first, you were episode 5.
Nice.
So, and I honestly feel like we recorded though before. I think you were possibly supposed to be like episode 3 or 4.
Because I think that was when you still you were figuring everything out. So sometimes you would record and it would take like a week or two. But now I feel like you're cranking them out.
I'm still figuring it out.
Oh, you got a big following now. I was on the landing page for Off the Mats the other day, and I was like, "Oh, okay, we're growing."
I didn't know that I'd even reached. I think it's at 11,000.
Yeah, it's like 11.1 or something.
I think I looked and it was at 7, and then I turned around and it was at 10. I was like, "Oh shit!"
Okay.
Like, when that happened, I think a lot of it's spam bots, just like BJJ Wiki.
That's okay. It's a high number. Don't tell people that.
I turned around one day on BJJ Wiki and it was something ridiculous. It was in the 90s, and I was like, when this happened? And then it stopped now. Now I'm just stuck at 95,000. I was like, okay, well, who am I to complain? I mean,
it's okay. Enjoy the fame, right?
Yeah, like those Pakistani Ghee companies.
Sir, madam. That's my favorite, the emails. Sir,
madam.
Yeah,
the emails are great. They cover all bases. Hello, sir, madam.
That's okay. You don't get the hello, beautiful lady ones.
I used to. Because no one knew that I was a male.
Oh, so I was just for BJJ Wiki.
I was getting all types of wild messages, and I was like, and in that moment, I was like, "Is this what it's like to be a woman?"
Yeah,
and then
it was unsolicited comments and DMs. Yeah, that's about what it's like.
I was like, "This is not comfortable." Oh my goodness, I'm sorry.
Until you get the emails that are like, "I would let you put me in a triangle. You can choke me any day." Oh, can I? Well, I'm a choke to kill, buddy. I'm a choke to kill.
Yeah, I'm going to choke you unconscious. You're going to probably not wake up, my friend. And now I just get threats.
Oh,
now I was like, "Yo, dude, I can beat
wild web."
My God. It went from, "Hey, beautiful," to, "Hey, dude, I'm going to fuck you up." What have I done? Why are you so angry?
You're crazy.
The internets. So how have you been?
Oh, how have I been? Well, let's see. Since this is I feel like we've tried to record an insane amount of times, and every time something major in my life has happened, and I've had to be like, "Friend, I can't. I'm sorry."
It's nice.
So a lot has happened. Let's see. My kid is officially in school, so we're not having to record at midnight, quiet, up in my office or in my husband's office, trying to not be too loud to wake the kid up. So this is nice. I'm daylight hours. The house is kind of empty. Let's see. So she's in school. I think we had recorded since I did my first blue belt tournament, right? Did we? At least I think because I had hurt my arm or something. I feel like we did talk.
I don't know. So the last time we spoke at all on air was episode 100 in March.
So yes, I think I would have done the first, but we didn't do a, hey, let me recap. So I did my first blue belt tournament. It was good. I won one match. I didn't win the others. That's fine.
But you won one, and that's a step in the right direction.
So the fun part is the girl had my same name. So while we were in the middle of the tournament, everyone's like, "Go Paige, go Paige." And I'm like, "Which Paige? What?" So that was fun. Alex Enriquez came out. Yes, I name dropped. I don't even care. She's my girl. I totally realized as I said that, I'm like, "You sound like you're name dropping, Paige." I am. She's a big deal. Her and
Drop
Faye.
all the names.
Yes. So that was a good match. The cool thing was, I went from like white belt, doing pretty good, cleaning up, whatever, and then blue belt, totally different game. And it was really good. Even though I only won one match, it was probably, in my opinion, the most successful application of the things I had been working on with Alex. I was like ready to beat myself up, and I came off the mat. She was like, "You attempted everything that we've been working on. Good job." And I was like, "Oh, okay. No one's upset with me. Like, no one's mad." So that happened. I'm back in college. So that's a pretty wild ride that I was not planning to do. I know we chatted a little offline. So my kiddo went back to school, and, we were chatting, and okay, this next season, you're a parent. Lots of the listeners are parents, or just people, your life goes through changes. Like, okay, well, the kid's going back to school. So what's your plan, Paige? You can't just do jujitsu all day long and go to the gym. And I was like, but why not?
Don't tell me what I can't do.
I know, right? You don't tell me. Don't tell me what to do, sir. So we decided, I said, I've always wanted to go back and finish my degree. So now's the time to do it. So I am on that wild ride of being a parent who is trying to do school, every moment that I can, and also help my kid with her school. So I'm back in college. My husband got his brown belt, so that's super exciting. As studio owners, that's he's been working a long time. We are both I don't even know what the right phrase would be. We are long-term committed to the jiu-jitsu sport. So he's been doing it, for a really long time. Had a break years and years ago at blue belt before we met, and then got back into it. And, so it's been a really cool journey for us. So it was really great that he got his brown belt. So that was fun. We had a wedding anniversary. And of course, everyone, I can't remember if I told you this, everyone was making fun of us because our gifts to each other for our anniversary, I got him his first brown belt rash guard, and he got me some really nice protein powder. And I was like, so apparently my neighbor said that we're cringy. I don't know. I guess if that's good. I think it's good, right? Everyone wants to be cringy. Like, oh, that couple, ugh, that jujitsu couple.
that whole term is goofy because it's like, just because it's not what you would do doesn't mean it's like, whenever I see the weddings where, the couple, instead of a dance, they'll grapple.
Awesome. Do it.
And and I love it. And I see so many people in the comments, this ain't it, sister, or oh, cringe, or gross. And it's like, do you need to stop to say that, or
right.
you could just keep
better?
scrolling? Yeah, it's like, how does that make you feel to say that they're what they wanted to do, is cringy, but
sure.
I'm sure that they you do something in your own spare time or your personal life that we would say is cringy, and then you're like, well, I don't care. Well, see, now you see my point.
I don't care what you say.
It's
I
like,
also feel like
move on.
Sometimes cringe, I feel like different people use it in a different way. So I feel like sometimes cringy is like a word for, you wish you had this, but you don't, but you're going to pretend like you're annoyed that someone else has it. Like, oh, that's so cringe.
Yeah.
You guys are so cute and getting each other think da-da-da. So I don't know. I just thought it was funny because I told her my response was, oh my gosh, really? Thank you. I aspire to be a cringy couple and do whatever the hell we want to and not care.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you both are happy with your gifts. That like, okay.
Oh my God, I was so happy. And it was like, protein gets expensive. It was like the big giant canister. He got me 2 big ones. I was so excited. I was like, look what I got. And he got his rash guard, which was he was excited about because it was, his first brown belt rash guard.
Well, that's cool. Super
That's what
cool.
we've been doing. How about you? What have you been up to? All the podcasts with all the people.
just pretty much that. Just podcasting, training, work, playing video games with my daughter. She's been playing The Legend of Zelda on Super Nintendo, Link to the Past. So
Stop it.
it's
Is that like the first one or when it was more like computer? Because I remember Zelda back in the day.
so
ER.
this one was so I think there was because I never played Zelda on the original Nintendo NES. I never played it there because it I just didn't care for those games back then. And when I got a Super Nintendo, I feel like I still didn't care, but a friend, he let me borrow it, and I loved it. So once we're playing on a Nintendo Wii, like Nintendo Wii, and I downloaded that game years ago before Wii, was phased out. And my daughter's been going through all the old games. She doesn't really like Super Mario Brothers.
What?
Um, it's I think the controls are really difficult for her. So
Yeah.
she plays a game on the iPad, this Teen Titans Go game, and it's the same controls, but it's a
Different.
touch screen. So when she's actually holding the controller and having to move, I think it's more difficult. And also on the Teen Titans Go game, you can run into the bad guy and still keep moving. On Mario Brothers, you run into the bad guy, it's a wrap, you're dead.
Yeah.
So she isn't big on that, but we've been playing Wii Sports. We've been playing Zelda. She wants to play Street Fighter. Then I always say to her, like, little girl, you don't want the smoke. And she
Street Fighter.
she,
Oh my god.
she beat me in one of the rounds, and she started like gloating and just making all these weird noises. So I looked at her. In the next 6 fights, I didn't let her get a hit on me. And then when it was over, I looked, I was like, so the lesson here is to be a good winner.
Yes.
Like be humble. And she was like, yeah, I don't want to play Street Fighter anymore. Like,
oh my gosh.
But then she asked to play the other night. So I think she's over it now. And she actually is getting really good at these games. She played Wii tennis. And
that's where they have the controller, right? And it feels like you're doing all the things. Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just dated myself there that I didn't even know. I was like, right, you hold a thing and you whack the air. I don't know.
Right. And then you do the thing, and then there's nothing there, but like you feel like there's something there, and like this is stuff, right? She won her game, and I was at work, so they had to call me because she was super excited, and I was excited for her. She was like, Dad, I won. I was, like, absolutely, you do. That's so cool. I'm so proud of you. Came home, and she actually beat me in a match.
Yeah, she's been practicing all day while you were sitting at work.
So then we had to go through the lesson again of, be a humble winner. So she was gloating again. So then I didn't let her score again. Like the next match, it was just ace after ace after ace, and she's like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
101. Sometimes you got to put them in their place. Last night, I was helping my kid with homework, and there was like a student curriculum night thing at her school, right, where I'm going to go and learn about all the things they're teaching them. So I'm trying to help her with her homework, and we're talking about something, nouns, plural, whatever. So I correct her, and she goes, no, Mommy, that's not right. And I was like, excuse me, I am right. And then she says to me, I have no idea where she gets this ass from. She says, well, that's why you need to go to curriculum night tonight, Mommy, at the school, so that you can learn. And I was like, skirt, hold the phone. Little girl. So I had to, sometimes you got to put them in their place a little bit.
They're at that age. Both our daughters are around the same age. So they're at that age where it is kind of like, they're discovering themselves as well. And
their voice. They're finding their voice.
Yes. And
oh my gosh.
My daughter told me, we had a discussion about like me listening to her and hearing her. And as she's talking, I didn't realize I cut her off. And she goes, Dad, so stop. You're not listening to me. And I was like,
that's good though, right? You're like, look at you. That's
yep. I checked myself. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Continue. And those are, those moments where My wife asked me one day when we were looking at my daughter, just all of her sass and her personality and high energy. And she goes, "Were you this way as a kid?" And I told her, I was like, I mean, at one point I was, and I don't know where it disappeared, but I'm also a kid of the
Parenting styles
80s.
were different when we were kids.
Hmm. Like I was a kid of the 80s. So, I mean,
Mm.
you know, at one point, yeah, I was allowed to be myself. And then I got to a certain age, and then, they're like, nope, you can't be yourself anymore. You gotta, kids are to be seen and not heard. So,
That's so funny. I was just talking to my mom. We were having like a long conversation this morning. I can't remember. We were talking about something, and I said, hey, we're encountering this thing with our kid and this other person, and we want to address it, and fix it. And she was like, well, won't that hurt that person's feelings? I said, well, it might, but also we have to talk about boundaries and respect and sticking up for yourself and all these other things. And it was so funny because she said, yeah, parenting is different now. And she said in the 50s, you didn't tell people if they talked a certain way that bothered you, or you didn't, rock the boat. You don't say, I don't appreciate you talking to me like that. And I told her one of our goals is, we want to raise our kid in a way that she is respectful, but also stands up for herself. So we talk about if you go to school and someone is not nice, you don't have to return that exact, attitude, but you can still stand up for yourself and say, hey, I don't appreciate the way you're talking to me. I'm going to remove myself, whatever. I just think that, and I don't know how it was for you, but like when I was growing up, that was not a thing. Like, you be quiet. Kids are at the kid table. Kids are doing whatever. Or if you did try to come and talk, they're like, I don't believe you. You're a kid. Like, go find a video game or go play outside.
as an adult, I still sit at the kids' table at Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Take it over.
So
That's food. Mac and cheese.
it's oh yeah, well we definitely get our own like tray of mac and cheese. So it's like I like being at the kids' table because when I listen over at the adult table, it's like you guys are boring. I turn around to my cousins, it's like we start having fun and cracking jokes as we always do. And then also it's kind of we're at the kids' table, but it's because we have kids. But even before we had kids, we were
That's
still at the kids' table.
right. That's
So
where I'm going to be.
it's I accept who I am. Although I looked at the adults table, and my younger cousin was sitting over there, and I did kind of have some strong emotions about that because like, wait a minute, I'm way older than her. Why does
Right.
she get to sit there? And then I was like, well, I guess girls are more mature than boys, so maybe that's it. I don't know because they're definitely talking about like some like mature stuff, and I'm over there like, hey, so I just bought a new X-Men figure. you know,
Yeah.
I got some new Spider-Man figures. Some new stands, and they're posing. And they're like, yeah, grow up.
No.
Like, okay, I
That's okay.
can't.
Everyone always, we're jujitsu or like weightlifting and stuff. And I feel like a lot of times people always, like when we'll go to family stuff, they'll be so awkward. Like, oh, well, so do you have your black belt yet? Or, like just like ridiculous questions because they don't know about this stuff, you know?
Like my family, they've well, my family here in Maryland, they've stopped asking. Whenever I see family up in Detroit, they're like, I see you on Instagram or Facebook. I see you on Facebook, and we doing that those martial arts, man. You
Those
know,
martial arts.
it's like I went to the family reunion back in 2019, and I remember my one cousin. I haven't seen him since we were little kids, and he goes, "Man, I ain't gonna mess with you. I mean, you might end up, throwing me on my head." I was like,
Oh my
"Dude,
God.
I wouldn't. It's cool. We're all
Right. Like,
here
I
to
get what you're trying to say, but haha, like,
Yeah, it's like it's not like that. Honestly, it's like, look, if something went down,
I'm out.
I'm probably the least of your worries. Like I'm the one that you're probably like, he's not going to do anything because I want to avoid the situation unless you make me part of the
Yeah.
situation.
I feel like it's the same way too, especially being a female. Like, I'm going to use the word cringe because we talked about cringe. So it's so cringy to me when I'm hanging out with other people or other females that don't train And they always make the comment. They're like, "Oh, well, Paige is our bodyguard." I'm like, "Shh, I'm running. I'm leaving you. I'm not your bodyguard. My jujitsu will protect me. My jujitsu will not protect a girl gang. Okay, it's to protect all of us."
I met someone new over the weekend, and I was at my buddy's house, and I'm not sure how it came up. I mean, it's probably because anytime I'm anywhere, I'm like, "Hey, I do jujitsu. You guys want to talk about it?"
Yeah,
I
let's make
probably
it
had
real
on.
awkward. Hey, do you want to roll around sweaty with people you don't know?
It's like, "Hey, so there's a backyard out there with some grass.
Let's get some puzzle mats.
Like I'm talking to this guy, and he was a nice guy, and he goes, "So what made you choose jujitsu over, you know, any of the other martial arts?" And honestly, I can't remember what I said. I know whatever I said was kind of cringy. I'm certain.
We're gonna keep using that word. How many times can we apply it? Yes.
Now I'm like just thinking, like, where can I fit this in? But and then I kind of went to explain, like, because my buddy and I, we work on another podcast together, and we've discussed many times like going out. I don't like to go out. He loves to go out, and I don't. And a big part of me not wanting to go out is just the world is crazy, and people do crazy things, and and also I'm really a homebody. I'd rather stay at home. I'll go out once in a while. We're trying to organize us going out to a Washington football game Thanksgiving weekend, Washington versus Atlanta, hopefully.
Ooh, versus Atlanta, ATL.
Oh yeah,
Get it out.
but we're talking about going to that game. But also, what I explained to him, part of why I don't like going out is because I'm on high alert. Like I'm always anxious anyway, and then knowing that people are just jerks.
Yeah.
I'm looking out for my friends. He's like, well, when I'm out with people, I'm not worried about the people around me. I'm worried about the people I'm with. I'm like, I'm proud of you that you're not
That's great.
anxiety ridden.
Yeah.
But
How does that feel?
I'm,
I don't know.
yeah, I'm just never gonna know that feeling. So, and it's in my mind. It's like if some shit goes down, the first thing I'm trying to do is like get everyone out of there. It's like, okay, we gotta go. Like there's some shit going down. Is like, and a couple people have made comments within our group, like, well, again, Dante's our bodyguard. He's our defender. It's like bullshit.
I'm out.
It's
I got
like,
a family. I'm gonna protect me and them.
yeah, like the most I'm doing for that group is to try to make sure that my group stays together and
Yeah.
we get out of there together. Unless someone puts their hands on me, I'm not finding a fight. I know there's a lot of different opinions on it. Like if you see something, do something. I understand that. I get that too. And in certain situations, I have spoken up for people. And I will step up and speak up for people. But there are other situations where it's like, look, that's a scenario that does not require me, and it can't end well for me. So
Yeah, and you don't know nowadays. You don't know what someone's in their mind, what they're packing, like any of it. I just nope. Nope.
so it's like at this point, my objective is always just get home if I do go out. But
Yeah.
that's just the thing. People do what they do, and I don't. I
I
do
feel
it
like it's
out of
such a I feel like it's such a misconception though that people think that just because we all train jujitsu, and I'm sure there are some people out there that are always like looking for a fight, right? But I feel like the majority of the jujitsu community, we do not train so that then we can go out and try to pick fights. Like I don't think that is a thing. I mean, it could be. It's definitely not in the jujitsu people I'm around or choose to surround myself with. But there is definitely that misconception. I feel like people are always like, oh, well, it'll be fine. Paige is here because she does jujitsu. I'm like, y'all know I'm a blue belt, right? Like, that's not, I know you don't know a lot about jujitsu, but do not come running to me because I'm still learning.
I always have to explain that to my friends too. They're like, so where are you at in the tiers? I was like,
On the pyramid.
or I think the guy said totem pole. That's what he said.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm a blue belt. He was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I was like, I mean, I'm still learning. You're always learning. And I was actually talking to a friend the other day about that because we made reference to white belts and blue belts. I was like, I mean, blue belts are still kind of fucking dumb. We're still learning.
Yeah. I don't remember if we've talked about my philosophy. This is me. I do not speak for the rest of my I'm trying to get my disclaimer out. I do not speak for the majority of my followers, anyone at our school or our business. However, for me, BJJ Mama, I feel like being a blue belt kind of just means I can safely do jiu-jitsu now. It doesn't mean that I'm some extremely higher level than any white belt person. It just means that I've learned a few of the like safety skills to not maybe get hurt as much. Doesn't mean I don't still get hurt, and doesn't mean I don't still spaz out occasionally. But I really wish there was a way to like kind of stop this whole, oh, I'm a blue belt, so now I'm going to like totally trash talk white belts. I mean, I get it's fun at some point. Oh, we're all picking on each other. But I just feel like there's such, people act like the white to blue is some massive jump. But I'm like, guys, it's really not. I don't, it is, but it isn't. And I feel like I'm just more prepared to take in the information now than I was before, if that makes sense. Like I'm going to get all like theory, meditative, whatever, Zen, like anyway, like I just feel like I can absorb it more now, and I have a more open mind, and I know what we're talking about as I'm learning jiu-jitsu versus, oh my God, I'm just trying to stay alive and I'm grabbing for your gi, or I'm grabbing for your neck, or your, you know what I mean? That's my philosophy on that, like transition from white to blue.
Well, no, I mean, that makes absolute perfect sense, because as a white belt, you are learning, but you're learning how to learn.
Yeah.
Once you hit blue, you're still learning how to learn, but at least you have a firmer grasp on what you should be looking for versus as a white belt. I mean, I remember, going to class once per week for the first year and a half. I was just going, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just knew that each week, okay,
I'm gonna put this bathrobe and show up. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm in my pajamas and I'm rolling around with these guys. I'm the sweaty guy, so it's kind of embarrassing, but I didn't know. I was just going in there and just doing stuff. And then once I started going more frequently, I started kind of stringing it together and understanding, like, okay, we learned this yesterday. How can I apply this in a live role? And and that's where I think that transition does come into play, is once you start understanding how to connect it all to some degree.
And I feel like orientation too. Professor Salas, Benjamin Salas, our black belt, and my husband Michael talk about this a lot. It's about realizing the orientation of where your body is and still being able to do the same things, but at a different orientation. So like when I was a white belt, I saw that first arm bar, traditional, throw your leg over, go back, the arm bar. And I just thought like, oh, well, cool. That's the only way you do an arm bar. And then as I'm exposed to it more and as I'm training more, I'm like, what, how did you get an arm bar from like here, way over there? And it's just a matter of, oh, well, it's still an arm bar. You can just do it from a different position, or you can do it from a different area. Like, so I feel like that's where that difference of like the white belt mindset and the blue belt mindset. So as a white belt, I was just looking at it as, okay, in order to do an arm bar, I must on the side, throw the leg over, grab, pull back. So now as a blue belt, when I'm exposed to technique, I can say, oh, so that's really cool to do it from there. Where else can I do that from? And I feel like that's the difference in learning from like white belt to blue belt. And as you work your way up, I feel like, I mean, I could be totally wrong, but
it makes sense. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I say I get it, but it's like, well, we're both blue belts. So it's like, we're just like,
right. Do we both get it? Well, no, we're still learning. We're just figuring out.
And there's some purple belt and brown belt. It's like, these, they're so dumb. It's like, no, we're learning. Like,
I do feel like though, so like one of the things I've been working on, and we kind of chatted about this offline a little bit. I feel like kind of figuring out what my game is, as opposed to just doing the jujitsu. Now it's like, all right, cool. What things work for me and for my body and the situations I'm going to be in? So like I've been playing a lot with the straight ankle locks and stuff. So what's funny, and I know everyone has their opinions, right? Whatever. I really like the straight ankle locks because I feel like recently when we were working on them, I am not a very petite girl. So once I started playing with those straight ankle locks, I was like, oh, dang, I don't have to hoist my big old booty back up to try to do I can just like attack from here. Let's go. Let's do it. So like I'm enjoying it so much more. I'm still working on the athleticism and I can do all the get back to standing and do all this stuff. But like, I remember so many times before I started working the straight ankle locks, I fall down. Oh, okay. Well, I need to get back up and then go back in. Well, no, man, I'm going to butt scoot over to you. I'm going to grab your leg. I'm going to still work from here. I feel like it has opened up, more opportunities for me. And it's definitely something that I am enjoying working on, especially with the wrestling too, just being able to say like, okay, these are the things that I want to implement into my jujitsu, not just this is what everyone else is doing. Like, oh, okay, what's my game? Like, what's my strength?
I think that's an important thing to understand though, too, as we're growing and learning, when you go from white to blue, you don't want to do what everyone else is doing. You got to work to what's best for your body type.
Mm-hmm.
Play to your strengths. I initially when I started, I was super athletic, super quick, just like I was a brute, as I would say. I was just like kind of powering through everything. And then it was like, okay, I am playing to my strengths. But then also playing to the strengths for me also meant trying to sort out what other areas I can get strong in, such
Mm-hmm.
as, I don't have a very good, open guard at all. Like, as a matter of fact, it's non-existent. So I just accept that fact. But half guard, I'm pretty solid at that.
Nice.
And it's like then you start figuring out, what are some of the, from bottom half guard and even on top. It's like, okay, I got a couple tricks there too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like starting to understand and discover again your strengths and then how to build upon those strengths
Yeah.
versus saying, oh well, I'm gonna try to invert, knowing damn well that my fat ass should not be. And that's not to say big boys can't invert.
Same, but
This
not
big boy
mine. Not
can't.
mine. I mean,
Right?
somebody
Like
else might.
I can invert if I need to invert, but I'm not choosing to, invert. It's just not something I look at. And it's like, what I think I'm gonna do today? Barambolos. Like,
I can
no.
invert if you force my body in that position. I could find my way out of it, but I am not going there willingly. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. If we get there, I'm not struggling for
Right.
sure.
If
I'm
we
not.
end up there, I can work my way through it. Right. But I'm not choosing to go there. That's not on the docket for the day unless you put me there.
Yeah. And I see people just willingly invert. It's like, what the fuck is wrong
No.
with you? Why would you do this to yourself? And they're like, no, it's good. Now I'm going into the matrix. Like, why are
All
you
right.
saying these words at me? That's like
No.
so insulting.
Gosh. No, I mean, just working the straight ankles and stuff, especially because for me, a lot of my game, I really like going for the knee slice pass. Like that's one of my favorites, or like knee on belly and stuff. So I really see the value now in trying to go into someone's guard, get that, knee slice or pass. And if I can't, cool, I'm gonna grab your foot right here and we're gonna sit down and go to town. Like, so that's what I am enjoying. And that's what I mean about that, being a blue belt, able to learn differently. Now that I'm exposing myself to more of the things and trying the things, I'm like, oh, cool, I could put these things together. And I feel like for the longest time, I didn't really understand when people were like, oh, well, what do you have in your tool bag? I'm like, I don't know, a little bit of top heavy pressure, but now I'm like, oh, I can do a knee slice. I can go to crossbody. I can get this, knee on belt, and just stringing the things together and actually being able to understand what like flowing through things means, as opposed to just, oh, I did this one move. And then now how do I get from point A to point B? Like just, I feel like that's where I'm at in my jujitsu journey.
In where you're at right now in your journey, like especially with the straight ankle lock. Now, is it just a straight ankle lock, or do you toy a little bit with knee bars, maybe a heel hook here and there every so often?
I am
No, let's get squirrely and go for a toe hold too. Why not?
I am starting to learn those things and see those things. I wouldn't say that I'm great at executing those things yet. Okay. So like I'm just getting into foot stuff. Let's just be cringy. I'm getting into foot stuff. Okay. But I mean, I like it. I definitely feel I almost want to kick myself though, because as I'm learning it, I'm like, oh my God, I could have been doing this. Like, I could have been really doing some damage before. And now, I'm aware of it and enjoying it. And also the wrestling. Like, I definitely, I work with Alex, and that has completely opened up like a whole new level of like, I leveled up, right? Maybe I feel like maybe I leveled up in my jiu-jitsu. I don't know. A little bit for me personally.
When I see you posting on Instagram, there is a journey. Like, you can kind of see the progression from, earlier.
Go watch those old videos, people. Go check them out. You'll laugh.
Yeah, but there's a growth to that's so cool to see. If you're paying attention to that, which can be a little weird if you're watching someone's Instagram post and watching their growth. Yeah, but I have an excuse because you're my friend and I repost a lot of your stuff. So
I appreciate it. I feel like doing the wrestling and stuff has definitely, and I'm going to sound cringy. Ooh, we got to count later. How many times? Like, make that the goal. Listen to this episode and see how many times they say cringe.
It's already set for the show notes. Trust me. Probably going to be in the title.
Promise it's not cringe, but listen anyway. I feel like one of the things that the wrestling has added is it has made me more confident because I have to learn how to go in first. And I feel like before I started wrestling, so much of my game plan was based on from a competition standpoint, what are they going to do? And then how do I respond? Instead of, this is what I'm going to do, regardless of how they respond, I know things to do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go for this single leg. I'm going to go for the collar tie, instead of just waiting. Like, I go back and it's so cringe to me. I go back and I look at all the old video footage of like those first white belt matches. And I'm not someone that pulls guard. That's not in my wheelhouse or something that I do. So a lot of my matches, you would see us like fist bump, and then I would just be like waiting, like white crane, like, all right, I'm waiting for you to come in. And I feel like if we're trying to be realistic with our jiu-jitsu, and especially from a realistic application, if you're going to say that you're learning this for self-defense or any other thing, okay, well, I'm not going to wait on the street for you to attack me if I feel like you're about to attack me. Like, I need to be ready. So I felt like starting to do the wrestling. And I can't remember if I told you this. My husband jokes. Basically, we started the wrestling because I did not like judo. We toyed around with judo from if you're going to compete and start matches, you need to be the first person to get the throw or the takedown. And I didn't like being thrown. I didn't like throwing people. I just personally didn't like it. So that's how I ended up with wrestling. I'm like rambling now, but I just feel like the wrestling has allowed me to be confident enough to go in and be the aggressor. And even if I don't land whatever it is that I'm trying to land, I have learned now that even if they then fall or pull guard or whatever, having started as the aggressor puts me naturally in a better position. I feel like, instead of just pulling guard.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, I remember one of my coaches during class, we weren't necessarily stalling, my teammate and I, but we were in kind of a weird spot where it's like, you can see that it's like, okay, what are you guys doing? I remember my coach yelled out, Dante, be first. And that's always kind of stuck in my head. It's like, if you're in any position, it's like, don't wait for them. Like, you execute what you know. So, and I used to say that to the kids, for competitions. It's like, you're going out there. It's like, what you're here for. You know what you're going to do. So go do it. Don't wait for them. You go do what you do and you make them adjust to you.
Yeah.
And that's just.
And I feel like that's such a great just life kind of lesson in general, really. Like, don't just wait for other people to set the pace of things. You set the pace. Ooh, look at me getting all philosophical. So don't set the pace of life. Don't let other people set the pace of life, kids. You go in and you get that single leg and you set the tone. So
I've had to take that. I've taken that approach here, even with the podcast, because there are people that I've wanted to have on the show, and I will like I told them, like, hey, you know, we'll connect and we'll sort out a time, and then I'd wait for them to reach back out to me, and then they don't, and I'm like, well, fuck, like
you gotta
that
do it.
backfired.
Set the tone.
So now I'm like going after people like, hey, so we talked about doing an episode. You still down for that? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Although people are still reaching out to me, but then it's now my turn to follow up on that.
You get to be picky now, right? Because you like reach that 10K threshold. You're like,
Every time I have a guest on, especially for the first time, I tell them, look, dude, like everyone who's reached out to me said, hey, how do I get onto the show? How do I become a guest? And I've had a couple people referred from others as well. And I tell them, like, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to listen to 2, maybe 3 episodes, but 2 is a good number. If you want,
that's a good idea to get a flow, like an idea.
Yeah. I want you to get a feel for how my patterns are, and there's been a few where I will refer them to specific episodes so they can really get a feel, because I'll pick like those episodes where it's like, this is where you can hear 2 friends talking. And I tell them that's step 1. Step 2, follow me on social media, because I need to know who you are. I want to stalk you, so I also know what I'm walking into, and you know those are and then I also try to explain to people and just understand that this is conversational. So don't expect an interview. Like, I'm going to ask you some questions to spark the conversation.
Oh, yeah, to keep it going. That's okay. I feel good about the evolution, because as I'm sitting here, like, seeing your whole face and my whole face, I'm like, I think it took like a solid, like, almost 2 years from like that very first episode where like we both had our faces covered, like no real name on the screen, but I'm going to talk to you, like, because I even, I told my husband, oh, I'm going to do this podcast with this person. He's like, who's this person? I'm like, I don't know. But I'm going to be, the camera against the wall. I don't know who this person is. So, I mean, yeah, I could see how someone new to it is like, I don't know. As I say that, he's coming down here. So if you hear rustling in the kitchen or the dogs.
I'm waiting for my wife or daughter to come down here, because anytime that I record with Julia, my daughter somehow finds a way to get on the show. Even if we record at night, she finds a way to get out of bed and come knock on my door. And she has appeared on every episode that I've recorded with Julia. And it's like, how are you doing this? How, like,
kids love her. My kid thinks she's just so cool. So, oh my gosh, I didn't even tell you, speaking of Julia, so we have a plan. Are you ready to hear our plan? I'm pretty excited about this.
I'm all ears.
So I'm in school. She's a lawyer. She's, all about education and all this stuff. So, oh my God, she's so sweet. She writes me this card about congratulations on this new chapter. Like, I don't expect people to like do anything. I'm going back to college. I'm adult, whatever. But like, I just think the world of her. So the other day we were training. This is before I hurt my back. Since my kid is in school and she has a little bit of a flexible schedule, I haven't always been able to train in the evening now. So her and I will meet up in the middle of the day, because like I got the keys to the place, so whatever. So we're like rolling and everything. So like we talk a lot, obviously, and we have decided this is our plan. When I graduate, it should be about 2 years. So our like celebration is we're going to do a jiu-jitsu road trip together, because I want to rent a van. My husband does not really have any interest in that whole like hashtag van life. Super cringe that I said it, but I did. Hashtag van life. He's like, I don't want to stay in a van with you. Where's the shower? No. But I want to just do it because I think it's cool. All these people that live in the van and stuff. So Julia and I decided that when I graduate from my degree, that's going to be our like celebration. We're going to pick like a road trip somewhere. I don't know where we're going to go. And I did tell her that I was like, listen, girl, I don't want it to be attached to any kind of tournaments. We're not doing a tournament in every state or whatever. I just want to have like a girl, because she would be like, let's go to this school and do that tournament. I'm like, no, boo. Like,
sometimes it's okay just to visit schools. I know.
I was like, I just want to
win all the medals.
I want to combine all the things that I want to do into like one girls' weekend. Me and her, like, rent a van. You can rent the vans that you see all over social media with, like, you know, the cutesy, the couch and the bed and all the shower and all the things, right? Like, you can rent those now.
Noted.
Yes. So I really want to go rent one, and then we're going to map it out, and then we're going to like do a jiu-jitsu road trip and visit all these like schools and train. And that's what I want to do when I graduate college. I was like, I want to do this for fun.
I like that plan. I love the plan, and I'm only thing I'm hearing from this is yes, I got an episode right there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it might be in like 2 years, but you got an episode. And she's on board. Of course, she's so funny. She was like, and then after we can like end at Disney and do a big Disney trip and the kids can fly in and the husband. I was like, okay, I want to do a girls' road trip and do some eating, drinking, and jiu-jitsu. Like, I mean, maybe the husband can be included, but I'm fine if he's not.
Like jiu-jitsu, that's what I'm doing. That's an awesome plan. Like,
yeah. So she was totally on board. We were like talking about it and planning it, and we're like, we don't know which direction. We're talking about heading the direction of Texas because there's some pretty good jiu-jitsu, flow grapplings out there. I think, is Elizabeth Clay out in Texas now? Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know.
I just know there's some good jiu-jitsu headed that direction. So that's our plan.
I like that plan. I like the idea of like jiu-jitsu road trips, period.
Yeah, I think it's cool that she's done so many of them, man. She is rocking and rolling and living her best life.
Yeah. Like I actually need to reach out to her. I have an ideal. I've had this ideal for a very long time. It's just I haven't been able to execute it. And it's like, okay, well, look, I might have to use you to execute this plan. And I've mentioned the plan before to someone, and they were like, it just didn't sound appealing to them. Like I thought about it with Julia, and I was like, look, I told her like I'll reach out to her and pitch the ideal to her.
So my husband will remind me all the time. I'll be like, man, I rolled with Julia and she totally like kicked my ass or whatever, you know, and I'm like, God, I suck. I'm terrible. And Michael's like, Julia like lives and breathes jiu-jitsu, working out. Her job is flexible. She travels. Like, calm down, Paige. Because I'll be like, dang it, we're both blue belts and I suck. And he's like, no, you're just different blue belts. Calm down.
I always have to remember that. It's like there are different levels to blue belt. It's like I'm a blue belt. I should be able to do this. And it's like, oh, wait, you're a different blue belt, though.
Right.
I'm just a blue belt with a belt. You're a blue
Julia
belt.
Is a different breed, man. Like, she's out there taking names.
Yeah. It's, you know, and it's really, it's fun to watch both of you, you know, watching your journeys, because I remember talking to her on the show as a white belt.
Yeah.
And then she gets promoted, and it was just like off to the races from that point.
She is killing it, man.
So just seeing that development and that growth in her, seeing your growth and your developments, you know, just it. And that's the thing with social media and just being able to like see everyone's, you know, transitions in the game. It's like, I think that's very important for, you know, anyone, you know, on social media, you know, especially in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think that part of what I love about social media, at least for me and my journey, and we've talked about this a little bit, like I enjoy being really authentic and sharing some of my struggles, no matter how cringe that might be. I enjoy putting myself out there because it also allows me to kind of go back and see my personal growth as I scroll through because like who doesn't occasionally rewatch your videos? Because like, you know, we're 80s and 90s kids who watch music videos that were like music set to life. So now here we are on Reels and Instagram, and we have this opportunity to like, oh, my life's a music video, right? I mean, maybe that's just me.
No, on my TikTok, I go back because it's a little easier on there because I don't have as many, and I'll go back and look at some of the posts I put up, and then the music that goes along with it. It's like, dude, that was the perfect song for that video.
Right? It feels so good when you're like, oh man, that hit and that transition, like, yeah, it feels good because we grew up with that sort of like entertainment, you know, like come on, like J-Lo's videos and like everything. She's Jenny from the block and like everything hits perfect. Like, it feels good.
Yeah, everything. It's funny with kind of that market with TikTok and then Instagram with the reels and everything. It's like it was there all along. It's just someone needed to tap into it, and now
Someone did, man.
and people, they have their comments about oh well, TikTok, blah blah blah, dancing, blah blah blah. It's like I like when I go on TikTok, it's like I see a lot of jujitsu. I see actually a lot of really informational stuff. There's this young lady. It's funny because on TikTok I don't know anyone's like screen names. It's never been a thing for me.
I don't even
But
have a
there's this
TikTok.
one
I
young.
need to get on there and explore.
It's a weird arena. It is very weird, but it's fun. Like I very rarely post on there just because I'm on Instagram posting. But most of the stuff from Instagram I send over to TikTok, so it should be easy. But I honestly just don't care. I like over there, but like there's this young lady who always talks science stuff, and when she talks science stuff, we're talking like time travel and like she's speaking my language, and like I am fascinated by this kid because like one of her more recent videos, she's talking about you know, I can't even begin to explain it, but I got it. I was like, and I sent it to my wife. I was like, you see this here? This is that shit. This is what I'm talking about here.
Let's go.
So, yeah, if you put anything up with time travel in alternate worlds, you've got my attention. It's like if you say, "Okay, Dante, here's an idea. Hear me out. Time travel." And I'm like, I'm listening.
I'm there. I'm in. Let's go. Oh my god, I love it.
Here's a timeshare we want you to be part of, and guess what goes with this timeshare? Time travel. Where do I sign?
I love it. I just like that you can like in the very beginning, I felt like, oh, it's got to be perfect. You have to look a certain way, but I really love the shift now in the more authentic you are, the more visibility you have. And I also feel like that's better for mental health, especially as someone who I've been pretty open about like my journey with like loving my body and training and tapping into like inner strength, as a woman, whatever. I really enjoy being able to do that on Instagram. And I feel like that's where some of my growth has come from. If you go and you look at like my videos from the very beginning versus now, where in the beginning I was like, look how thin and fit I am. And I better make sure I have on lip gloss when I do this video. And now I'm like, girl, let it all hang out. Throw on some Nogi spats and let's roll. I don't care. I don't care what my rolls look like. Let's go. And I feel like there's such a shift in that. And I know that it might make some people uncomfortable. Like I don't care. So far, I've seen more followers and I've had actually less negative response to stuff than I did when I felt like I was like, not that I was ever putting on an act, but when like I thought about it more, when I would be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to record 2 or 3 reels. Now I'm like, let's just do a reel because I'm acting like a dummy and dancing in my car. So like, why not? People want to see this.
I think that's, kind of the most important part of that though, too. Like you said, the mental health aspect, because I think it's important for people to see, like when you look at some of these videos and it's like everything's so perfect and their hair is made up so perfect and their makeup so perfect. And now they're going to go and do, heel hooks. You're like dolled up. And it's like, that's not how that works. And I know I spoke to someone a couple years back and they made mention of a specific Instagram account, and it was kind of like they were like trashing it really, but it's a good account. They put up good technique. It's just that it's a pretty young lady who, she's training in spats, and they had made a negative comment about them, and it's like, I mean, and I kind of get it from one side of it, but on the other side too, it's like, because I repost this young lady, and it's like, you can see like that's her genuinely on the mat. She just
Yeah,
happens to
I mean,
look
I
like
feel like it
that.
goes both ways. If you're fit, tiny, and look beautiful, you shouldn't be like ostracized just because that's the way you look and you choose to be genuine. You just happen to look very attractive when you do it. Like, I feel like it goes both ways.
Yeah, and I think like the more that people can see, like, look, this is just you getting on the mat or you doing a reel and you're being your authentic self. I think that helps so much more than it hurts, because
Yeah.
when you start seeing people really orchestrate these things and these huge productions, that's cool too. They deserve credit for the work that they put into that.
Yeah, I mean, it took time.
But it also, I feel like, it puts other people in this headspace where they feel like, well, I have to do it this way, or I have to do it that way. When I did,
Yeah.
I did not a review, but like kind of like a little shout out for Asgard 503.
Oh, yeah.
And
I remember.
I don't like doing videos myself personally, but I did the video. And the thing is, I shot that video 20 times. And it was only 20 because I was exhausted, I was fed up. And I was like, you're gonna get what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And I had to step back and say to myself, Dante, just be you. You don't have to make this perfect
Yes.
in everyone else's eyes. You just have to make it authentically yours, and talking your own pattern. And I noticed the video started off, I was high energy, and by about a minute and a half in, I was talking like this, and it was this is a really nice gi. I was like, okay, maybe next time just be more aware of that. But
Yeah.
it's important to kind of show that, look, not everything has to be a 3-hour production for a
Yeah.
15-second video.
And I feel like too, it's all about authenticity. Like one of my, because I'm still growing and learning, and like I feel like one of my proudest moments recently when I did a reel, I've again honest about like body struggles, whatever, being a female, whatever. That's like a whole nother episode for another day. But one of my biggest things that I was pretty open about recently was my transition from Ghee to Nogi. And I just felt like there were probably more women that maybe felt the same way as me, but we weren't talking about it. I 100%, I feel like I can finally say this comfortably. Nogi because the outfits made me look funny and squished my rolls and were tight, on my butt and my boobs and whatever. And like, I genuinely, if someone said, why don't you like Nogi? I would never admit that was why before. I would just say like, oh, I just like the Ghee, grips and stuff. No, I like the Ghee because it covered everything up. And now that I finally got to a point where I'm more comfortable and I'm like, I really don't care. Now, okay, to some level as a female, we care a little bit. But I finally got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm just here to do jujitsu. And especially because I'm very lucky that we own the school and, my husband is the instructor. I'm like, I am not out here. Like, no one's coming out here asking me on a date. Like, I'm just training. So I'm going to put my most comfortable no-gi attire on and we're going to go train. And I can't remember, we were doing something. We were warming up and it was the guys because I'm the only girl. And we were warming up and I remember doing some of like warm-ups and I actually said out loud, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I can move. Like, I feel like I could run and I'm free. Like in my no gi attire because I had only really trained in the gi. And I feel like that's something that's really important to me on my social media when it comes to, I obviously promote stuff about being a parent and a wife and a mom and a female or whatever. But from a jujitsu aspect, I really wanted to be open about that. And Julia and I can't even remember the video. I'll have to go send it to you so you know which one I'm referencing. Julia had brought a friend to come train. It was like a Saturday morning. We just like kind of for fun. It's not any set class or whatever. We were training and some song was on and she was ready to record, like to get a little clip so that I could use it for content later. And we were like dancing and being silly. And I had like all my no-gi stuff on. And like, I mean, honestly, when I looked at it at first, I was like, oh man, look at those little squishy rolls. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to post this because I'm in my no-gi attire. It took me a really long time to get comfortable here and I'm training and I'm having a blast. And like, I want other women to see you don't have to wait to get comfortable. You have to make yourself comfortable. You have to learn how to be comfortable. You can't wait for other people to tell you it's okay. Even though I'm here telling people it's okay, I'm like, just freaking do it. And I feel like, we had talked a little bit about how I joked about how I'm like not even the same person from our first recordings. And I feel like that's what I mean about not being the same person. Like, what is that funny audio clip going around where the guy's like, I'm really sorry for the inconvenience of me not giving a fuck. Like, that's how I feel now. Like, I'm really sorry if my newfound comfort and confidence bothers you, but that's your problem. For internet strangers or anyone that encounters me in real life,
No, you're absolutely right. It's it's empowering, seeing it as well, because it lets us understand that, like, look, and I know not for everyone, for some people. So no, even for me, there's some things where it's like there is kind of a mindset of just do it, and there's some things I just can't just do. Like for me, I have to really calculate certain things. Just childhood, upbringing, trauma.
Life.
So kind of working through those weeds, but for the most part, you do have the instances where you see something. It's like that person's having fun, that person's enjoying themselves, and again, it may not be as easy for everybody to do it, but at least it is possible to do it. Versus, you'll see someone again, just referencing celebrities and all the things that goes into them trying to get the perfect shot of the perfect thing. It's like, look, man, that's causing a lot of trouble for a lot of young ladies and young men for that matter too.
Yeah, 100%.
And thinking like, oh, we have to be perfect, and it's like that there's no such thing as perfect.
Or that those angles are even realistic. They're not. Do you know how they're holding their breath? The light they're turning, that's not natural. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Let's be okay with being ourselves.
That's the most important thing, is just be you. That's why I love when I have people on this podcast and I tell them, like, look, man, it is a conversation. After about 10 minutes, you're going to forget your recording. And, some of my favorite episodes are episodes where we have to say, dude, we got to kind of edit a lot of that out because we got a little too free. It's like, okay, that's fine. I get it. Cause I fall into that pocket a lot where I'll just start talking, like saying nonsense. And it's like, and I know some of the stuff is wrong, like not like wrong, like bad, wrong, but like incorrect stats.
Like,
no, you're just like, it's a fact.
Yeah. No, I love the authenticity of, or at least the shift in authenticity on social media that I'm starting to see. And I really, like, I had posted that video of me like dancing and being silly and like put a little audio clip over it. And like, and I actually put in the description, I used to not train Nogi because I didn't like the way my body looked in the Nogi gear. And like that statement was so freeing to just be able to like actually say it. Or type it, whatever. I had so many people in my DM, so many women that were like, oh my God, yes, thank you for sharing this video. So I feel like there's so many women like, come on, girls, let's do some no-gi. Like, take the gi off, just like do it. And if there's some shitty dudes at your school, you need to address that with the owners and the coaches, because let's be real, that's half the problem. I think a lot of women might be at schools where maybe they don't feel as, that is also a little bit of the hardship for, I think, being a woman in jiu-jitsu. So
I always think to myself, and I know the world is a big world, and I'm spoiled because I believe I train at the best gym in the state of Maryland, and we have a great culture there, and no one body shames anyone. No, now, granted, nobody body shames anyone. I still have my own body issues.
We all do.
Because like when it comes to no gi, like I have my moments where I'm like, I don't want to, train Nogi because, like, with having a colostomy,
Oh
you
yeah,
can see
that's
the
right.
bag sometimes,
Yeah.
but there are ways around it. I think I just make an excuse for not doing it because I'm like, I just don't feel comfortable. But it's like,
But
you can
I
get
mean,
around it.
can you? I'm just gonna ask as friends, or do you have to have like the short, like it, right? I mean, if you had something to put it on and the rash guard over it, or is it just not comfortable to try to
So
secure it?
years ago when the DC Open first came here to Maryland, I just competed 2 weeks prior for the first time, and I was like, I'll do the DC Open. And they're like, yeah, you can't wear a rash guard under the gi. I was like, oh, okay, that's dumb. And then, I explained to my coach. He was like, well, send an email to IBJJF and ask if you can get an exemption. And they emailed me back like, yeah, we hear you, but no, put on a neoprene brace and
Oh.
that'll cover it up. That's not completely true. Um,
Hmm.
it covers it up, but when you're sweating, it moves around, and if your gi
Yeah,
opens up,
not
you're
pleasant.
exposed.
Listen,
Now, I
you need to get
still,
with a Ghee company and produce a BJJ wiki specific Ghee that has like a pocket on the inside. I'm just saying.
maybe, like, it's there have been things that have been in my mind about
Do it.
because I'm not the only one. There are
I'm
others like
sure.
us. Um, but I still wear neoprene brace. Just kind of, it's a comfort thing, especially with no gi, because it does kind of cover it up.
Yeah.
It can be a little problematic from time to time, not all the
Yeah.
time, but
But you could
in
still
the
do no-gi with the gi pants, right? Because I mean that's what I did
yeah.
comfort wise for a long
Mhm.
time. I would be like, cool, we're rolling no-gi, don't grab my pants because I'm gonna wear my gi pants because I'm comfortable.
So as far as like I have my spats on and in shorts, so that's never a problem. It's more so the top because you can see the bag bulging over the top sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So I wear the brace to kind of cover it up, and it does a pretty good job. But sometimes it's a little too tight,
Yeah.
and it can be uncomfortable. Now the thing is, you would think with the gi on that should be kind of similar, and it's like yes and no. I actually have the belt covering over top of where the stoma is, so
Uh,
the belt serves as kind of a little shield
like a
of
barrier a little
sorts.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a class where I didn't wear the brace one day. I'm rolling with a brand new white belt. It
Oh,
was his first day, maybe his second day, and I'm in his guard. He grabs at my belt, which then he also grabbed the bag, and he is yanking on my stomach. And so
because
with crossing back,
that's attached to your body. Yeah, like your body. Ouch, dude! Like you're ripping
yeah, in
extremity.
the adhesive is very strong on the bag. So as he's pulling,
Oh,
I yelled at him like a very like primal roar at
what
this
the
dude,
fuck?
and like I slammed my hand slammed my hand into his chest,
Yeah.
pushed him back, and I felt bad on one note because of my reaction to it, but it's a genuine reaction. This dude is pulling on my body in a way,
Oh
and the thing is,
yeah.
he didn't know, and I apologized to him because I explained. He was like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." I was like, "No, no, no, you didn't know. You weren't aware of this. So
Yeah, it's not like you tried to do that. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
you weren't being malicious. You didn't know any better. Um, and I did feel bad because again, snap reaction. I was ready to kill this dude. Like you're hurting me, but
Yeah.
again, he didn't know. Now I've had teammates, well, not teammates, but I've had people. They, you know, they didn't do anything kind of to hurt me or be malicious about it, but there have been instances where there's been an issue on the mat that you know there's kind of a discomfort of someone rolling with me, but then it's just like, whatever, dude, you can
Oh,
go
like
fuck
they weren't
yourself.
comfortable with it. So I feel like in our sport, um, for so long, no one would hold people accountable based on their rank. So if someone was higher rank, no one would hold them accountable for their actions, whether that's on the mat, off the mat, whatever. And I feel like we need more people in our community that are going to say, like, hey, dude, don't be a douchebag. This person's trying to help you. Or, hey, just because she's a girl, she's right. Like I'm just trying to help. And I try always to, anytime, and not that I'm not someone that walks around trying to correct people on the mat, but if it's like a safety thing, like you're going to hurt your partner. You know, I've said before, like, hey, like, let's say we're drilling, or like, you know, my husband goes to the restroom or something because he's the primary instructor. And I'm the blue belt on the mat and there are a bunch of new white belts. Like, I don't just walk around and act like I'm instructing, but if I see them doing something, like, okay, hey guys, whoa, slow it down. He said, just do the drill. We're not throwing arm bars right now. We're just drilling the steps and the pass. Don't try to go for the straight ankle lock. You know, like occasionally I'll do that, but every once in a while I'll get a look like, yeah, okay, well, you're a girl, so shut up. And I feel like we need more people that will hold other people accountable and just say, like, it's jiu-jitsu. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, they, them, who, whatever. It does not matter. Like, we're all here to learn jiu-jitsu. We all want to be safe. We all have lives outside of jiu-jitsu, so let's not try to hurt each other. Right? Like, I feel like years and years ago, no one was having those conversations. So people were getting hurt, or there were egos, or someone would come in to try a sport and they were like, oh, I'm out. This is not for me. You know, so I feel like there needs to be more accountability.
Absolutely. And it's really, really, you know, ramping up lately with people calling out piss poor behavior, you know, just like, and not just like with lower belts, higher belts too.
Yeah, all of it.
Being called out. And I think all of that's important because we do have this thing with our sport that like, oh, they're black belts. So,
they're
you know,
untouchable.
yeah, it's like, no, if they're a shitty person, they're a shitty person, you know.
Yeah.
And that was something that came up recently on a post. They're like, look, just because you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu doesn't mean you're a black belt at life. It doesn't mean you know everything about life, you know. And you know, that's absolutely true. And you know I make posts about white belts and I make jokes here and there, and someone actually commented, and I replied to them. I let them know, like, it was a post that said something about basically if a white belt's talking, you know, shut up or something. It's something basically down in a white belt. I have too many of those posts, and you know, it's like, if you follow my account long enough, you know that I don't mean half the shit that I post on there. Yeah, just content, and it moves the needle. People come in and I get likes, you know, dopamine.
Yeah.
You know, but I commented back to the guy. I was like, I told him, I was like, no, I agree with you. Actually, just because you're a white belt doesn't mean you don't know anything. I've met plenty of white belts that they may be a white belt on the mat, but they might apply a concept from life that can apply very well onto the mat that helps their jiu-jitsu grow. And maybe it was something I didn't notice, and now I apply that to my own game. And that's just the thing, is like, these belts, the ranks, you know, yes, they mean something. But
it just means how much work you put in. It has no reflection of who you are as a person, I feel like, personally.
No, I agree.
I feel like, cool, you're a blue belt, so you've been working at it long enough to get a blue belt. Cool. Oh, so you're a brown belt, you've been working at it long enough to get a brown belt. That has no bearing over how you get to speak to me. Like, that's how I feel. You don't get to talk down to me because you have been doing it a little longer than me and are maybe a little better than me. It doesn't make you a better person.
Agreed. And when I encountered my buddy's friend while watching football over the weekend, and he asked me about jiu-jitsu, and asked where was I on the totem pole, and I told him I was a blue belt, and I wanted to make it very clear that I'm a blue belt. I'm still learning. It doesn't mean that I'm better than anyone. It doesn't mean that I have all this wisdom. I know sometimes people give me a hard time about the way I make disparaging comments about myself as kind of a joke. It's like, just because I'm a blue belt doesn't mean I have wisdom. No, I don't know shit. I'm still pretty dumb, and I'm not saying that like to, down myself. No,
no, but it's like, there's still so much to learn and absorb.
I make silly mistakes just like anyone does. And, I say silly things. So at the end of the day, just because you're, this color belt or that color belt or not, you might have a belt with no color. Doesn't mean anything about your character.
yeah, I also feel like it helps you to be more open to learn more on the mat. If you just walk around being like, I'm a blue belt, so all white belts suck. Okay, I'm sorry, buddy. Those white belts are your training partner before you get to purple belt. So maybe we don't need to treat them like trash. Just saying.
And honestly, you can learn a whole lot from those white belts on the mat because of your training partners that they're helping you get to that next level. So listen to them.
I feel like one of my biggest things I need to work on, oh my God, is like giving the energy for drills with other people. Poor Julia, the other day, she was trying to show me something. She was like, oh, I want to go through this thing. So she's trying to show me, and it was like a sweep or something. And I'm like up in the air trying to like watch her, but still have good energy. And I just like totally flopped on her. And she was like, well, so that didn't work. And I was like, I'm sorry, that wasn't you. It was me. I was trying to watch what you were doing while still being your partner because it was just the two of us. And I totally was like, oh my God, the worst training partner ever. I was like, I'm sorry. Let's redo that.
At least you acknowledged it, though. It wasn't like you're like, nah, I did everything right. You're like,
no.
nah,
Oh my God, no. She like went to grab something and I just like plop, like my ass hit the mat and I plopped. And she said, well, that's not what's supposed to happen. I was like, that was because it was me, not you. It's me. Because, you know, when you're trying to, it was something new. So I was trying to give her proper energy, but also it was something I had never seen. So as a practitioner, I was like, ooh, cool. What do you do? Where are you putting your hand? And then we do what? And I just like fell over on the mat. And she was like, okay, can you stand up so we can redo that?
Hey, I mean, it happens. So I'm clocking the time here.
No, that's fine. Yeah, you're good. We got so much.
This was fun, Paige. I am so happy I think it's been close to a year that we've had a one-on-one. So
I know,
glad.
and I even feel like, oh my God, there's so many other things. We have to do some more episodes. But yeah, I really enjoy what you're doing. I always sing your praise. I love BJJ Wiki. I love Off the Mat. I love that you allow people to have a voice in our community and to talk about things, you know what I mean, that are just going on and off the mat.
Oh, look, I mean,
super cringe.
It's a learning experience on my end as well, because anyone that comes here and shares their story, they're giving me an opportunity to learn from them and also sharing with our community. So as long as people are still listening and still want to be my guest and come on, I'm going to keep doing this. But before we get out of here, any shout outs, any mentions you want to throw out there?
Well, as always, Flex Pro Meals, discount code BJJ Mama. They're really yummy meals that are pre-made, delivered right to your door all over the U.S. Use my discount code to get 20% off your first order. And also just check out my page. I've actually got some new partnerships in the works. So I don't totally have discount codes for everything yet, but I have some coming. I've got one for Flamingo USA, which if that's for the ladies, some really great blue jeans for us ladies who train and our bodies are not the typical. So Flamingo has hooked me up with some really great apparel. And then Muscle Sport is a new partnership that I'm working on. So I should have a discount code soon. But regardless of my discount code and anything coming back to me, go check them out. Like, I love their protein. Oh my God, it's so good. And I think that's it. In terms of shout outs, go follow me, please. I just did a silly video about if you're going to look at my page, you might as well follow me. I'm nice, I promise.
Once you get the discount codes, send them to me in a message. I'm still, as usual, put them up because
thank you.
Even if it's not on this episode, other episodes. And as always, to everyone else listening, thank you so much. I do appreciate everyone who tunes into the show, downloads, refers people to the show. Even I've had some recent guest referrals. I wish I had a referral program. I've had quite a few guests referred my way, and some episodes upcoming with some new guests that have been referred. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you, everyone. As always, I do appreciate you. If you have any questions, concerns, criticisms, or you want to be a guest, reach out to me. I'm at bjj.wiki on Instagram and Off the Mats Podcast on Instagram. Got a bunch of other Instagrams, but those are the main two that you're going to catch me on. And as always, big shout out to my awesome guest here, Paige. It's BJJ Mama. Go give her a follow. And honestly, I repost a bunch of her stuff. So you follow me, you're seeing
I guess
her
we should
stuff.
add BJJMOMMA. There has been some
Yes.
discrepancies on spelling of mama. So I am BJJMOMMA.
That is true. That is true. So yes, make sure you go give Paige a follow. Also, big shout out to my guys over at Nerd Rage Radio, Bobby, Chris, Joe. Love you guys. Trying to get on your show again soon. I'll sort out the scheduling and I'm gonna get out there. Otherwise, love you guys. And last shout out, go check out my other podcast, So You Like Horror. I have an Instagram account for it too. Go check that out. So You Like Horror. All the words are separated by an underscore. So go check that out if you're into horror movies and stuff like that. We just did a werewolf episode, Exorcist episode. We've got we're about to do some stuff on horror movies through the decades, starting in the 20s and working our way 1920s, working our way up to basically 100 years later. So go check it out. It's one of the funner shows that I do because I get to really dig in, do some research, and then ignore all the research I did and just talk about horror movies. So I check those out. But otherwise, thank you, everyone. Love you to death. You guys keep listening, and I will keep making shows. Thank you, everyone. And ciao.
They were it. Now let me sing a song.